knitters, welcome to the Knitty McPurly podcast, episode 93. I am Devin Ventry. You can find me online as Knitty McPurly on Instagram. Here at this YouTube channel, if you would like to subscribe and thumbs up this video, that would be awesome. If you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com, and my website is KnittyMcPurly.com. You can find all that stuff linked down below if you're interested. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday, happy September. Super, super pumped that it is fall. I love the fall. I think we all love the fall, but I think as knitters, we love it more than the average person because it just means sweaters and knitting. And when that first crispness enters the air of fall, I just feel galvanized in my knitting. I just want to knit all the things. So it's a very exciting time of year for me, as I'm sure it is for you. But let's get right into it because I've got so many things I want to talk about. Progress and shop news. This was a big weekend for me. It was actually a couple of weeks in the making. It took me a long time to get ready for this shop update, and I worked really hard. So I just want to show you some of the stuff that's in the shop update. The shop update went live yesterday. It was not one of those quickie sell out kind of shop updates. It was, I filled the store for fall kind of shop updates. So a lot of people jumped in and got what they wanted. Thank you so much. If you were there yesterday and you placed an order, thank you. That'll be going out on Tuesday because tomorrow is a holiday. But if you haven't, go check it out. So here is what is new. I have Knitty McPurly Wool Wash in 8-ounce bottles and adorable little 4-ounce bottles. Oh, it's like the mama and the baby. They're so cute. They have this vintage artwork on them. It's funny because I use the Reject soap a lot because it's just soap that like I was learning the process. And so I have a bunch of Reject soap that's still perfectly good. But it doesn't have the qualities that this soap has. So I've been using the Reject soap for a while. And so I used it up and I started using some of this soap. Oh my gosh. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but the soap is amazing. I love it. It doesn't suds. You don't have to rinse it. It just smells good and it makes your wool garments soft. It's just great. I love it. So if you're a knitter, which you probably are if you're watching this podcast, this is great for having wool wash around in case you need to wash something. This little 4-ounce bottle is great for gifts because you can wash, not a ton of things. You can wash like let's say you give someone a baby sweater. They can wash the baby sweater. This is 4 ounces, probably 8 to 10 times, which is probably the life of the baby sweater, really, realistically, before the child grows out of it. So this is great to include with a gift if you're interested in that. However, also for all orders over $50, I have this little free gift. This is a free 1/2-ounce sample of the wool wash and a free lip balm. I used to have the lip balm in the shop as something you could buy, but I decided that it's just not knitty enough. It's not knitterly enough. Everyone uses lip balm. So I decided to include these as freebies if you spend $50. I'll include that in your package. So if you wanted to try out the wool wash, you could order some yarn, get the free sample. Now this is just 1/2 ounce. So that's enough to wash, not a sweater. Unless it's like a baby sweater, like a small sweater. It's enough to wash something small, like a hat or a shawl that's not large, or a pair of, gloves, or a baby sweater. So it's just enough to try it out. You really need about 1 ounce to wash a full-size sweater. But this will give you an idea of what you're dealing with if you want to just try it out. Also in the shop, and these are in the apple cranberry scent. So my whole dyeing space is filled with the smell of apple cranberry. And Gigi came down the other day and she's like, Mom, I love that you didn't do pumpkin spice. She's like, I like pumpkin spice, Pumpkin spice is great, but everything is pumpkin spice. Like there's pumpkin everywhere. I love that you did something different. And I kind of feel that way too. It's subtle, it's appley, but also a little bit floral because the cranberry scent doesn't smell like the cranberry. It smells like the flower. So it's a little apple cinnamon floral fall. My fall allergies have hit, as you can hear. It's just a great scent, I think. So that's also the scent. That's the scent of everything. The wash, the lip balm, the hand balm in the 2-ounce tins and the 1/2-ounce stick. So with the tin, you just, kind of stick your hand in there and, get it on your hands and rub it all over. With the stick, it's just what you'd expect. You kind of roll it up and then you put it on like that. This does not seem like it's 1/4 the amount as this. I mean, as you can see, like they almost look the same. I can feel that this one's heavier, but that's what we're dealing with there. Thank you so much to all of you who ordered those things yesterday. It filled me with joy to know that you were as excited about them as me. Another thing that's new is the new and improved Amelia needle case. Now, the old Amelia needle cases, as I said before, were smaller. They were about this size. And so they couldn't hold the larger size yarn needles. So inside are 3 needles, 2 of the larger yarn needles that you could use for just about any yarn at all, and 1 size 18 embroidery needle, which is a little bit smaller. These are made in France. They're really nice, but you can see that eye is not enough for like bulky yarn like that one is. You could get some super bulky through this, but not through this one. So there's 1 of the size 18 and 2 of the larger yarn needles, and they fit in there. And there's a little bit of extra room that you could probably fit 1 or 2 more needles in there if you wanted to. And those are wood, and they are in 3 different colors. I'll put up a picture here so you can see the 3 different colors that they come in. But that's a really adorable little needle case. Also, back by popular demand, like I talked about last time, I have the Jennifer Yun leather sleeves in the ochre color. This color is super popular. And these do come with the scissors. I've had a few people ask that. They're like, am I just buying the sleeve? No, they come with the scissors. So the scissors, they come kind of like, wrapped separately, and then you just tuck them in there, and they are just so pretty. These scissors are from Kelmscott Designs. Both of these beautiful things are made in Canada. Both small businesses, family-owned businesses. That's who you're supporting when you buy these things. So, I mean, that's true of everything in my shop. Most of the things in my shop are made by me, but these are 2 family businesses that are Canadian that are just awesome. These are it's just great. And I know a lot of you love them, and I've had some requests for when are you going to get the yellow back in stock? Well, I have it, so go over and pick one up if you're interested. And that brings me to the most exciting part, which is the yarn. For a long time, I've wanted to have in the shop a stock of colors you can count on, that you can always get. Like if, you're looking at a sweater and you think, oh, I know Knitty McPurly has this color, I can go get it anytime and it's always there. So that's what I did. I dyed across all 8 bases, 6 of my new colors. There's going to be 12 total. 6 of them are in the shop right now. Some of them you've seen before, such as Bougie, which I have here on Amsterdam Aran and here on Mohair. And in the description on the website, I talk about the different bases and how they take the dye. One of the things about the Amsterdam Aran, because this is an MCN, it's merino cashmere nylon. It's very, very soft, and it takes the dye in a really cool way, where you can see that it's like some of the fibers just take it differently than other fibers in there. And it's just so, so pretty. You see a lot of that tonal variation, which I love. As I was scanning up the yarn and labeling it, I was like, I love the variation. I get questions about this a lot, like how much variation is there? Is there going to be some variation? Yes, definitely. You should expect that because it's a hand dye. And that's what's interesting about a hand dye. Like you can go and get a machine dyed yarn where the dye has been weighed out one, grain precision, you know what I mean? With that level of precision, you're going to get yarn that is all exactly the same color. With hand dyes, you're not going to have that. And that is personally what I love about it. So that is what you're going to find with this yarn. You will find variations. It's like anything handmade. It's like that mug that was made by hand that you got at the craft fair that's imperfect, and that's what's great about it. That's what I do here. That's what we're looking at with this variation. Now, some yarn, like this mohair, which is also more than one fiber, because mohair is like it's like a strand of silk, and then the fuzz is the mohair. And the mohair takes the dye. It's hard to tell in here because I have the natural light, but it takes the dye in a much more uniform way. But I brought mohair up here in every color so that you can see it. This is Bougie. Bougie is not a new color. It's been around a little bit, but it is a favorite. It is a fan favorite. It's just the prettiest pale pink. I love it so, so much. One thing that's really cool about my shop update is you can see how many are in stock and how many you would be pre-ordering if you wanted to pre-order. For example, let's say you want to knit a sweater, you need 8 skeins. You can go in there, and I don't actually think it shows you how many are in stock, but you can, for example, try to enter in 8 skeins, and it'll say, we don't have that many, or something to that effect. If you scroll down, there will be a pre-order for that same color and that same yarn weight that you can pre-order the 8 skeins, and I will see that they were pre-ordered together. So they are probably, and you can leave a note if you want, but I will assume that they're all for one project and that they should be well matched. They should be dyed in the same pot if possible, or the dye is, what I kind of do is I kind of interchange some of the dye to even it out so that it all looks uniform. Now, it's still not going to be uniform, like something dyed by a machine. It's still going to be hand dyed. But as I've said before, you don't have to alternate skeins like every other row for the whole sweater, for example. I don't do that because I think it's boring. So what I do is I will knit with one skein for a while, and then as I'm kind of coming down to just a little bit left, I will alternate skeins for a few rows and then go into the next skein. I've never had a problem with that. That usually works out pretty well for me. There are times when I haven't done that, even with more commercial hand-dyed yarn like Madeline Tosh. And like when I'm wearing the sweater, you would never notice, like my Audrey sweater. But in the pictures, you can kind of see where I didn't change, alternate skeins. But whatever, who cares? In the grand scheme of things, if you can't notice it from a galloping horse, then it's not noticeable. Okay, so that's Bougie. The other 3 of the colors are kind of not unknowns. These are knowns. The second one is Fantine, which has been around for a while. This was originally part of my Les Miserables collection from last summer. And it's just a great, great, hot, deep, dark pink. I had somebody, one of my customers, say that she ordered it and she wrote a little note saying, I'm buying this color again. Like I buy it every time you have it. It's my favorite. But Fantine is just so deep and dark and bright and just hot. It's just a hot, hot pink. I feel like it encapsulates Fantine, who was just a tragic, tragic character. I don't know if the yarn is tragic, but it's deep and dark and hot. Yeah, it all works. Okay, the third known color is called Meadow. And here I have it in Berlin Bulky and Munich Mohair. And the Bulky too. Now the Bulky is 100% merino, and you still get a little bit of the dye kind of, I think of it like breaking apart. It's like the dye breaks apart, because even dye is made up of different colors, you know, like in order for them to achieve, the people who make the powder dye, in order for them to achieve the color that they want, and myself too, like I am mixing dyes. And that was one of the criteria when I was coming up with my colors. Like it has to be a mix of 2 to 3 dyes. It can't just be the, you know, the Dharma dye color on the yarn. Like anybody can do that. But to mix and to get a more complex color, I feel like is what makes these colors special. And you can tell when a dyer does that. Some dyers have colors that you've just never seen before, and it's a beautiful thing. So you can see here with this Meadow color, there is a little bit of the breaking up. There's a little brownish and a little bit of yellowish in there. So yeah, that color is just beautiful. I talked about this a few weeks ago, that this grass green is really in fashion again. I'm always glad when this color is in fashion. It's not my eye color, but my eye color is green. I look good in green. I almost don't wear it though. I kind of went off it. Like it was in fashion and I was super into it for a long time. And then I just had my fill, but I'm back to it now. I love it. It's so pretty. This is the Meadow colorway. Now on the website, all of the yarn is organized by yarn weight. I did that because I felt like when you go shopping for yarn, you're looking for something for a project usually, and you know what weight you want. And then once you get into the weight, at that point, you can choose your color. Okay, new colors. All right, this color is called Beryl, and we have the Amsterdam Aran and the Munich Mohair. And again, you can see there's a lot more variation in the Aran than there is in the Mohair. But this is it's a moody teal. That's a little bit of a dark teal, but also a little bright too. It's just a really nice teal color, I think. And this is called Beryl, B-E-R-Y-L, like the barreled coronet for Sherlockians out there. Yeah, I just think that color is so pretty. Okay, and the last two are kind of neutrals. We'll start with the less neutral of the two, and that is a purple called Thistle. Here we have the Berlin Bulky and the Munich Mohair. This is a really light grayish purple. This one was super, super popular in the shop update. But like I said, most of the yarn did not sell out. Some did in terms of what's in stock, but you can always pre-order it. And I don't think I put it on the website, but pre-orders will ship fairly quickly because I have a test knit coming up. So a lot of my testers bought yarn and they need to get it before the test knit starts. So pre-orders will ship out pretty quickly. But again, this is the Thistle colorway. It's so pretty. It's just a soft purple. I like purple, but I don't like obnoxious purple. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, you know exactly what I mean when I say obnoxious purple. Think like Barney the dinosaur. Like some purple is just obnoxious. And I like a soft, springy, gray leaning purple like this one. And that brings me to the color. I mean, it's like your children. Like I couldn't possibly pick a favorite. It's not like my favorite because I love them all equally. But this color is called Morel, after the mushroom. Again, I have the Bulky and the Mohair. This color, it's tannish, it's purplish, it's grayish, it's neutral. It's hard to photograph a color like this, but it's a neutral. That's amazing. It's a purpley, grayish, taupish, mauvish, tannish, variegated amazing, gorgeous morel mushroom color. I actually thought about calling it chanterelle because I felt like it was maybe more the color of chanterelle mushrooms. I'm not a huge mushroom lover, but Quince & Company has a color called chanterelle, and this is not that. That color is more brown than this is, but it's just so mushroomy. Okay. We could admire yarn all day, if we're being honest. We can just look at yarn and enjoy that. Okay, I'm like 20 minutes into the video and I'm still on progress and shop news. But we have arrived at progress. And I have somehow, frankly, I'm not sure how. It's been a very, very busy couple of weeks. I just spit. But I somehow made progress on my Vesper sweater. I have divided for the sleeves. I think I'm gonna stand up so that I can show you. All right, so here it is. I have deviated from what I told you I was going to do. I imagined that I would continue the raglan shaping all the way to the bottom, and the sleeve would be all of that. But I decided against that. So at this point, what I have is just a sweater that doesn't fit me, okay? Here I have the very, very deep armhole. I would put it on, but it's on a needle that's not quite big enough. I have a very deep armhole, and then I just have a few stripes below that. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see. But that's basically what this is as of this point. Now, what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to decrease, and this is just waiting for me to do the math, basically. I'm going to decrease and make this not tight, but just a closer fitting, wide waistband that can kind of bunch up here, and then the top will be kind of blousy. This is one of those where I Anyway, I changed my thinking as it went on. This is, I think, maybe a little bit better. You can see a little bit better there. So that's where I divided for the sleeves, and then there's 3 stripes, and I wanted to end with a Bougie stripe. So this is the Munich mohair in Bougie and the Frankfurt fingering in Trinket, which is one of the second 6 colors that will be coming out. I don't know, I'm not sure. End of September, October maybe. We'll see when I can make that happen. But I just got there and I thought, I'm just gonna change it. Some designs, I design it on paper and with math, and then I knit it. And other designs, I design on the needles. I'd say the math type is more of a shawl thing for me. I tend to do that with shawls. But with sweaters, I design them on the needles. Because you just don't know. And that's a big reason why I like top down. Because you want to be able to put it on and say, where do I want to go from here? How do I want this to fit? And I kind of feel like with the sleeves, I have a couple of options. Right now, they are gigantic. And we talked about sleeves last week, and I might go with the bishop sleeve. I might not. I might do a batwing slash dolman sleeve where it's very wide and it narrows by the elbow and then is fitted through the rest of the arm. Or I might keep it wide like a bishop sleeve. There's another sleeve that was wide all the way through. But I feel like the thing that you think of when you think of a bishop sleeve is that blousiness right before the cuff. I don't know. We'll see. Next thing I'm gonna do is the bottom, the waistband, which like I said, is gonna be a thick waistband so that it can bunch up a little bit. What do you guys think? Tell me what you think of this rather fashion-forward design. I wanted a sweater that was a statement top. I have a lot of sweaters that are throw it on gray sweaters that are great for throwing it on and being gray, but I wanted something that was a fashion statement in its own right. Like you could wear it. It itself makes the outfit with whatever you're wearing with it, a skirt or jeans or black pants or whatever, that it would kind of be a statement piece. I also feel like it would be universally flattering, because when something is blousey and then gets a little bit fitted around the hip area, I personally think that looks really nice on most body types. Also, the larger arm, whether it's just large at the top or if the poof goes all the way to the bottom, I don't know. It's a little bit less practical. The idea of a bishop sleeve is a little less practical because I do things like laundry and dishes. Although I don't think I would wear this while I was doing laundry and dishes because it's too fabulous. But I did make progress and I'm super proud of myself. I did get pretty far. So dividing for the sleeves is big. Like that's a huge turning point. So let me know what you think of this. I'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, etc. Okay, last part of Progress and Shop News. This is big for me because I've had a lot going on. Advent calendar, having all these colors in stock, fall update. I have the retreat coming up in January. Yay! I'm so excited for that. I hope all of you who are coming are excited. It's gonna be really fun. I was not sure if I was gonna do a Lent calendar. If you are new, I do have new people. Last year, I did a Lent calendar that mirrored the Advent calendar. So it goes from Ash Wednesday to Easter Sunday. It is 40 boxes of 10-gram minis that all makes a project. Last year, it was a shawl. And next year, which I am going to be doing, it will also be a shawl. That was the thing. I was like, can I do it? Can I do a Lent calendar? With all this other stuff going on, am I gonna have time? Is it gonna work? And it's gonna work because this all happened sooner than I thought it was going to, and it was just easier to do than I thought it would be. So I'm going ahead doing the Lent calendar. It's gonna be great. It's gonna go on sale January 1st. I will let you know ahead of time. I'm making a much smaller number. So this year for the Advent calendar, I made a crazy number, which is why I sold them all year. You can still get one. You can go still get an Advent calendar for this Advent 2022, still available on my website because I made a crazy number. At the Lent calendar, I am going to be making a fixed, much smaller number. So if you want one, you're gonna wanna know when that goes on sale. Like I said, it will be January 1st, probably at noon my time. But obviously that's not soon. You don't need to worry about it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm really excited. Lent starts February 22nd, which is awesome because my birthday is February 21st, which means that my birthday next year, I will be 45 and it's on Fat Tuesday. Yes. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's something to, if Lent is at all anything to look forward to, that is something to look forward to. So January 1st, they'll go on sale. They'll ship February 1st to start Lent on February 22nd. So it's a quick turnaround, but it's gonna happen. Very, very excited about that. Oh, and it will also be a shawl once again, fingering weight shawl. Probably something not that different from what I did last time, but different, something different. So if you do both, you'll have two different shawls in the end. So it'll be exciting. Okay, topic of the week. This week we're going to be talking about the Regency era and the 1840s. It's kind of like the Bridgerton effect part 2. Not because I have like a set Bridgerton related group of things I want to talk about, but just because I just want to talk more about that topic because it is super in fashion right now. So my son serves at Mass, and at our church, they have a full cassock that they wear, the full black cassock, and then they have the surplice, which is white, that they wear over top. So the only thing that he has to wear is basically a black t-shirt with no collar because the cassock should cover it, and black pants. So, and black socks and shoes. So all of his black pants are like this much too short because like all 10-year-old boys, you know, he grows like 6 inches at a time. So I get online today to order him some new black pants. I'm looking around. I want pants that seem to him like sweatpants, but that no old ladies are gonna stop him at church to go, are you wearing sweatpants under your cassock? Like those aren't dress pants. So I wanted to kind of, you know, skate that line. So I'm on the Gap website and I ended up ordering him a couple pairs of pants, black pants. And then Gap messages me saying, oh, you have $20 in Gap bucks or whatever it is if you spend $50. So I get back on the Gap website just to look around. And everything I see has been touched by the Bridgerton effect. Here's just a few pictures of women's clothing from the Gap. Currently, like I took these screenshots this morning, currently at the Gap, we have puffed shoulders, we have shirring, we have ruffles. Everything has been touched by the Bridgerton effect. And it is just a very feminine, kind of ruffly, poofy thing. And even the Gap, I mean, the white t-shirt and jeans store of the world has stuff that has been touched by this. And I just think that that's an interesting cultural phenomenon. Someone pointed out to me in the comments that the styles that they use in Bridgerton are from the Regency era. So I looked into that a little bit more. The Regency era was from 1810 until 1830. And this is the time when the Jane Austen novels are set. So that's why the costumes from, you know, Jane Austen movies and Bridgerton and other movies, I think, that are trying to be like period pieces without being specific, you know, like any of the Cinderella stories, like the Kenneth Branagh Cinderella or the Drew Barrymore Ever After version, like all of these kind of period pieces that are non-specific, not necessarily country specific, or like Beauty and the Beast, the live action one. A lot of these costumes are modeled on the Regency era. So many designers have tried to capture the Jane Austen thing in knitting. I was kind of curious, like, are you interested in knitting items that would go with this type of thing? And it's hard to know what that would be. Here's an example. These are pictures that I took. I had to take Gigi. Gigi volunteers at weddings, with weddings at our church. And so she had to wear, you know, something that was nice and pulled together, but she's Gigi who would like, she's like, I have my day pajamas and my night pajamas. So it had to be kind of comfortable, but still look nice. So we were at White House Black Market and I took these pictures of this sweater that I think embodies kind of what we're talking about here, the ruffles, the eyelets, the lace. I love this sweater. I think it would be difficult to recreate, partly because a lot of modern yarn is very drapey. Now, I talked last time about my Dubrovnik DK and Warsaw worsted and how they are not drapey. They have a crisp feel, and one of those would work well in a sweater of this style, but because of their weight, I feel like they would be too warm for something short-sleeved like this, so maybe something long-sleeved. But I think this is just a really, really awesome, cool example of one way that you could, and like I said, this is a store-bought sweater. I saw this in the store and I took a bunch of pictures because I thought it was really cool. But there's one designer, her name is Paulina Popiolek. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Pretty sure she's British, but she has done a whole series of shawls in a Jane Austen collection. And I'm just gonna put those up on the screen while I'm talking. I got the name of the shawl with the picture. So if you see one you like, you can look it up on Ravelry. I found these years ago when I first learned how to knit, and many of them were in my queue. I wanted to knit them, especially the Miss Dashwood shawl. I just think they're all really pretty. and intricate. And the Miss Woodhouse shawl is really, really pretty too. That one has more detail in the whole body of the shawl, but they reflect that Regency era, I think. I think that was their intent, and I think they do it well. Even if you don't necessarily see shawls all that much with the Regency style, maybe you do, I don't know. But anyway, I think these are a beautiful way to do it. I think there's more than one way to do it. And if you just go on Ravelry and you type in Jane Austen, you see a lot of different things. You're gonna see little, Jane Austen amigurumis that are crocheted. Like they're gonna find that. But there's fingerless gloves. There's a lot of things I think that reflect that period. Yeah, but if you have any thoughts on that and you wanna share them in the comments, I would love to read what you think and to think more about that because it's an interesting topic. So last time we were talking about the 1840s, and this is going to lead me into my word of the week, so bear with me. So many of you say, I love your podcast, I learned so much. And I'm like, it makes me feel like I really have to like bring the content, which is not a bad thing. Like, it's good to bring the content. But last time I felt like it was a stupid thing to say at the time, but as I was researching, I realized that it really was stupid. I was like, I wonder when Gutenberg invented the printing press. Was that in the 1840s? Durr. No, that was around 1436. Gutenberg invented the printing press. But I thought, we've been talking about the 1840s and about the Victorians, and like, what is it about that period? So I looked into it. And I tried to delve into this period and get more information. And here is some of what I found. The Industrial Revolution was coming to an end around 1840. The westward expansion was blowing up in the US. People were moving west. In 1849, Karl Marx published the Communist Manifesto. Fun fact about Karl Marx, just in case you're interested in this fun fact. Like when you think of Karl Marx, this is the man you think of, right? Old, kind of big guy with the beard. He married well above his station. Like he was a lower person in society. He married a woman much higher than himself, and he married for love. Who knew? Fun fact, even the codifier of modern communism who laid the groundwork for the slaughter of millions of people could marry for love above his station. Crazy. Anyway, Karl Marx publishes the Communist Manifesto in 1849? It was 1848. 1849, he publishes the Communist Manifesto, but a year before that, 1848 is known as the Year of Revolutions because there are many revolutions happening throughout Europe. Basically, the old feudal system is being thrown off in exchange for kind of the independent nation state, a more modern states like we think of what we have today, more democratic type of states. And this is the beginning of the reign of Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria reigned from 1837 to 1901. And it's also, the 1840s are the beginning of the French Revolution. They started at the end of the 1840s. So a lot is happening. And that brings me to my word of the week, which is bougie. Now, this is a really fun word that I adopted for my prettiest bougie color, pale pink, bougie. And I want to talk to you about that word and its beginning. So, bougie comes from bourgeois, which originated in medieval France, where it denoted an inhabitant of a walled town. So, the early meaning of bourgeois is someone who lived in a walled town, a town with walls. The overtones became important in the 18th century when the middle class of professionals, manufacturers, and their literary and political allies began to demand an influence in politics consistent with their economic status. So, Marx is the first one, I believe, to coin the terms the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie are the people who control the means of production, basically the upper middle class. So the word bougie refers to something that is either upper middle class or kind of swanky. I think of the word bougie as a synonym for swanky. And it just means something that might be above your station or might be just a little bit fancy. But that comes from bourgeois, bourgeoisie, this 1840s idea that was being codified by Karl Marx, as opposed to the proletariat, which is the working class. If you've read George Orwell's 1984, the proles are the people who are not a part of the party. You know, the party is who rules the society, and the proles are just, they don't mean anything. They're like the peasants, basically. But that comes from that word from the Communist Manifesto, proletariat. So it's just interesting because bougie is a word that's modern, like 2022 modern. It's in music, it's in popular culture, and that's where it originated, from 1849 in the Communist Manifesto. Earlier than that, you know, Marx takes it from that earlier medieval French term, but he's the one who separates the bourgeoisie from the proletariat in our minds. But interesting, right? It just kind of goes all along with what we've been talking about. And if you are behind in your Knitty McPurly podcast episodes, I encourage you to go catch up because I talk about all these topics. I've had some people send me videos too. In fact, someone just sent me one. It's another, I forget what it is. I'll link it below. But it's another person who talks about history and knitting together. And I haven't had a chance to go look at her videos, but it looks really interesting. So I'll be linking that and hopefully talking about that more in the coming podcasts. Knitting fantasies. So I was on Ravelry because I was looking at, what was her name? Paulina Popiolec's Jane Austen shawls. And I thought, I'm just gonna look at Ravelry. Let's just see what Ravelry has to offer. So I picked my knitting fantasies this week from Ravelry. My first pick is from Stephen West. It is his Shawlography MCal 2021. This is amazing. He does not see limits. I want to be his friend. I want to talk to him and hear about his thinking when he designs. I just think it's amazing. Did anybody do this MCal? I would love to hear about how user-friendly this pattern is, because it looks complicated and I don't know, maybe it's not, but I'm wondering how user-friendly it is. Or if you've knit other designs of his, how user-friendly are they? Are they all intermediate patterns, or could a beginner pick one of these up and try their hand at this? This is fingering weight. It is 1,900 yards, and it looks like it takes 5 skeins. That's a little bit more, you'd get a little more yardage out of 5 skeins than that, but it looks like he's got 5 different colors going on there. It's really cool. I like it a lot. My second pick is kind of the opposite of this. This is the Daily Sweater by Derico, I think. I can't read my own writing. This is a fingering weight held double with mohair. This is a pattern that's in both English and Japanese, but as I'm even just scrolling through the Ravelry description, there's a lot of Japanese, there's a lot of metric, so I'm not sure. You purchase it in yen. It is 770 yen, which, don't freak out, it's $5.49 in US dollars. So it's actually a pretty well-priced pattern because there are 7 sizes. It has a lot of ease, even in the smaller size, as is shown in the pictures that I put up. But it's really cool. It just looks really comfortable and big and basic. It looks very wearable. Looks like a daily sweater. My third pick is something totally different than the first 2 picks. This is the Spread Your Love Mitts by Ducati. These names that aren't names, I write them and then I can't read my writing. I think that's what it is. Now, these are $5.50 in euros. Do you call them dollars? €5, 50 cents? Maybe that's it, but it's cents, I think, which is almost exactly $5.50 in US dollars. The euro to dollar right now are about equal. This is an adorable fingerless glove pattern. It is so, so pretty. It's got hearts, so cute. Comes in one size, but you can adjust the fit based on needle size, it says. Comes in English and German, and it is a fingering weight pattern. I would knit all three of these things. If I had unlimited time and resources, I would absolutely knit them. So, so cute. So, moving right along, the next segment is, so here's what happened. I have two little stories to share today. I have a second Grandma Mary story. I talked about Grandma Mary last week with her doll that was lost in the fire, and have another Grandma Mary story to share. But I got this email this morning and I thought, I gotta share this too. Amy sends me a message today, and she's one of my test knitters in the Everywhere Sweater Test Knit. So she writes me an email asking some questions about the test knit. And at the bottom, there's a PS, and it says, so your here's what happened story from 2 weeks ago about the lady in church who had a near occasion of sin when seeing the Le Terre shawl. That was me wearing my shawl. She says, we were in Detroit. This is in Michigan. Crazy. We were in Detroit for our nephew's first communion. And that lady so sweetly came up to me after Mass and used the very same words that she wrote to you. It was such a nice surprise to have someone recognize the shawl and be a fellow watcher of your podcast. And that was the very first time someone had complimented me on something that I made. It really made my day that day and many days since. And then to hear you read the story on your podcast, I couldn't believe it. My husband was almost asleep on the couch until I started almost yelling, "That's me, she's talking about me." It gave us a good laugh and maybe gave him a little more appreciation for my knitting. I think all husbands need that. All husbands need to hear how awesome your knitting is and that people all over the country are talking about it. Yes, definitely, all the way. She says, thanks to you for such beautiful yarn and designing such a beautiful pattern. Well, there's going to be another one next year, so put it on your minds, get it set in your heads now that we're going to do it again next year. But Amy, that was just awesome. I figured it was somebody, right? It was somebody who got the calendar last year, and there was a limited number then too. It wasn't like a huge, huge number of people. So thank you so much for telling me that, Amy. It made my day today to hear about that. It's just awesome. This is like why we need the Murdogs, okay? If you got a Murdog knitting sticker for me, stick that puppy on your car so that we can honk at each other in traffic and be like, hey, what's up, fellow knitter? My husband took a picture. He and his sister were on their way to a funeral in New Jersey, and they took a picture. If I still have it, I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know if I do. Hopefully one of us do. And and my first response to him was, where's the Murdog? Like, clearly a knitter in Virginia, where's her Murdog? If this is your car, send me a message and tell me, because number one, we need to be best friends. And number two, I'm sending you a Murdog. Okay. I have had so much to say today. This podcast is going to be so much longer than usual, but alas, whatever. Okay. Grandma Mary. This is the second Grandma Mary story. My Grandma Mary, in her later years, had severe arthritis and the cold would make her ache. My stepmom, Debbie, called me and asked if I could make her a hat and some fingerless gloves to keep her warm. I wasn't very good at knitting at that point, but I could crochet quite well. So I told her I would make her a cowl and fingerless mitts to match. I sent several pictures of yarn and Grandma picked out the one she liked. I knit them both and sent them off, and she loved them and wore them all the time. My parents live in Florida, so they run the air all the time, and that's why Grandma was always cold. Grandma also had thinning hair for quite some time and decided she wanted a newsboy cap. Isn't that just adorable? Can't you just picture Grandma in her newsboy cap? Adorable. She called and asked if I would make her one. and she picked out the yarn again, and I made it and sent it to her with the addition of a silver leaf pin I found in an antique store pinned to the hat band. When my grandma passed away, my parents asked me if there was anything I wanted of hers, and I asked for the things that I had crocheted for her. The hat was asked for by one of Grandma's best friends. She loved it, and I told them to give it to her. But I got the cowl and the mitts back that I had crocheted for Grandma. When I visited my parents, I would give them a break from her care, and I would feed her and talk to her. Even though I wasn't her real granddaughter, she never made me feel anything but loved and welcomed. And as I reread this, I realized that this is her stepmom's mom. So she had that close grandma-granddaughter relationship with her, even though they were not blood relatives. When I wear the things I made for her, I'm so grateful that I was fortunate to have Grandma Mary in my life. She may not have known it, but she was a great influence on my life. That's such a great story, Florence. Thank you so much for sharing it. I love grandma stories, especially because oftentimes grandparents aren't still with us. My husband's grandpa was, from the first time I met him, somebody who he would talk about. And at one point I made him a blanket, like a sewed, it wasn't really a quilt, like it was just like a patchwork blanket, but I cut out the letters grandpa, and I had put those on there, and we got that back after he died too. And it's just a great thing to have because you always think of them when you're using or wearing that object. It just makes you think of them and when they were here and when they wore it. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of you who have sent me knitting stories. This is our oral tradition as knitters, and this is my small contribution to keeping that alive. So if you have a knitting story that you would like to share that is funny or heartwarming or nostalgic or delightful in any way, please send it to me. You can email it to me. If you take a video of yourself telling it, I would love to play that video because then we can see your face and we can connect with each other that way, and that is wonderful. I love that. But if you don't want to or whatever, I get that. I understand. You can send it to me and I'll read it for you. That would be great. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Sunday, happy September. I hope your fall is great and you can do a lot of knitting as the weather cools off. Thanks for joining me. Bye, knitters.